Hello, everyone. It's Rabbi Shmuel Pollan. I want to welcome you back to the Light Unto the Nations show. We are right in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, two of the highest high holidays in Judaism, and they also apply to non-Jews. So take the time during these days for some introspection. See how you can repair problems, relationships, and see in general what you've been doing wrong and how you can fix it and how you can become a greater person for the coming new year. And God is always open to people's repentance and happy to accept it. He loves us like he loves his children, like a father loves his child, his only child who he had in his old age. Even more than that, they say that if you could quantify God's love, it would be greater than like a lion running after a wildebeest. That strength, that passion is there between God and us, even though we might not feel it, but it's there. And anything we do, there's a step in the right direction. God considers it very, very precious. And now we're going to talk about how to overcome obstacles. And it's really fortunate that the word for overcome is overcome, because that's exactly what we're going to talk about: going over obstacles, not going around them, not going beneath them. There's actually a saying of one of the Chabad Rebbes, and you should all Google Chabad Rebbes, Chabad Rebbes, Rebbes, and learn about these great men, because by learning about them, you will become greater yourself. And one of them had my name, which is Shmuel of Lubavitch, and he was, I believe, the fourth of the Chabad Hasidic dynasty, which is of the seven. And he said that many people think when an obstacle comes, we should try to go to the side of it, or we should try to go under it. And then they realize that's not going to work. And then they realize that they should go over it. But I say you should immediately go over it. To begin with, go over it. We always go over an obstacle, and then we kiss the obstacle goodbye and give it a big, big thanks. That's because, for instance, like I'm in synagogue and someone's talking behind me. So if I argue with him, I'm going to the side of the problem. If I just become like a slave before that person, that's like going under the problem, and just be like, well, I'm just going to let him do anything he wants to me that he's going to do, and I'm just going to take it. That's becoming like a slave, going under the problem, or going over the problem, which means to become a greater person. And when you're at that higher height, something happened with my computer, but when you become a greater person and you're at that height, the obstacle no longer applies. Going over the obstacle means becoming a greater person, lifting yourself up to a greater height, becoming someone greater. And as that greater person, the thing no longer applies. So if I just reach deep within myself and say, I'm going to become a person who doesn't mind when someone's talking behind him and is going to pray just as well, aside from that fact that he is praying behind me. And then I become a greater person and the obstacle no longer applies. And then I thank them. I say, thank you for talking behind me. I really appreciate it because it made me be a greater person. And now, as a greater person, I can take that with me for the rest of my life. And all obstacles work in the exact same way. They all can be overcome by going over them, becoming a greater person to which the problem does not apply. So even if it's a life-threatening illness and the person recovers, he can look back and say, now I become someone who overcame that illness. And you are now someone that can teach others about how to overcome that illness. There can be a documentary made about you and your struggle, and that can help millions and millions of people. All sorts of good things can happen from it because you became a greater person because you went through that. And all obstacles work in the same way, in that you never want them to happen. You never look forward to an obstacle. The obstacles just come. God puts them in front of you, and boom, there they are. But once you go over the obstacle and it's done, once you've gotten over the life-threatening illness, once you've gotten over the car accident, You never want to give it up. It's just like a birth. A woman goes through a birth. It's extremely painful. It's the most painful thing she's ever been through and she ever will be through. But once that baby comes out and it is given into her arms, all the pain is completely washed away. She has absolutely no regrets, and she wouldn't give up the birth for the world. She's happy she went through that. And every obstacle is a birth. You are being birthed into becoming a new person, a person who has been through X, Y, and Z. Before that, you were one person. And now you're the person who's been through X, Y, and Z. You're a completely greater person that you can now teach others about, or just simply teach yourself about and know that you can handle something like that. So obstacles are a birth. You're birthing into a new person. You have to go over the obstacle. In other words, become a greater person. If the person actually dies from the obstacle, that means it's his last obstacle. That was the last thing God wanted him to overcome. He has completed his service in this world. Death is also a great mystery. There's more to it that we don't understand, and it's just one of things that are just God's will, and we will never fully understand it. But in one sense, we do understand that that is his last obstacle that he needed to fulfill in this world, and he is done. So congratulations. And we're not happy at a funeral, obviously, because we're so sorry for our loss that we lost touch with this person. But when the death date reoccurs the following year, it's called a Hilula. It's actually called a celebration in Judaism because he has completed his service, and through the course of a year, he's gotten to even higher and higher rungs in heaven. Okay, we should only know good things. We will know obstacles. I cannot promise you won't face obstacles this year. We're already seeing a lot of obstacles taking place. But what I wish you is that you only have obstacles that you can handle with ease and with gracefulness. You should be clearly know the obstacle, know what you need to do, become the greater person. And the obstacles should just make you greater and greater and greater until the coming of the Messiah. May he come immediately. God bless.